What most people call making a living is, in reality, participation in a system that quietly converts time into survival. And the structure of that system is so normalized that it rarely feels like a design choice, but more like an unavoidable condition of adulthood, where waking up, working, earning, spending, and repeating becomes less of a conscious decision and more of a behavioral loop reinforced over years. Imagine someone waking up on a Monday morning, not necessarily unhappy, but already mentally calculating obligations, thinking about bills, deadlines, responsibilities, and the subtle pressure to remain productive, because productivity has been directly tied to stability, and stability has been tied to income. This connection seems logical on the surface, yet underneath it lies a deeper mechanism that shapes how people think about money, time, and even identity. The system operates on a simple but powerful exchange. Time is traded for money, and money is required for access to basic needs. Because those needs are constant and recurring, the demand for income becomes continuous, which means the demand for time commitment also becomes continuous. Over time, this creates a closed loop where stepping away from work, even briefly, introduces discomfort, not because rest is inherently risky, but because income interruption threatens stability. This is where the system becomes less about earning and more about maintaining position within it. Psychologically, this loop conditions people to prioritize short-term consistency over long-term leverage. When income depends directly on hours worked, attention naturally shifts toward maintaining those hours, protecting that income stream, and avoiding disruption. The mind begins to associate safety with repetition, even if that repetition limits growth. This is why many individuals continue in patterns they recognize as restrictive, not because they lack awareness, but because the perceived risk of change outweighs the potential benefit. There is also a subtle identity shift that happens within this structure. Work is no longer just an activity, it becomes a defining element of self-worth and social validation. Questions like, "What do you do?" are rarely about curiosity alone, but about positioning, contribution, and economic identity. When identity becomes tied to income-generating activity, stepping outside that structure can feel like losing not just money, but meaning, which further reinforces participation in the system. Mathematically, the constraint becomes clearer when we look at the limits of time-based earning. Every individual has a fixed number of hours in a day, and once those hours are allocated to work, there is a ceiling on how much income can be generated through direct effort alone. Even if hourly earnings increase, the structure remains linear, meaning income scales with time, not independently of it. This creates a natural upper boundary that cannot be crossed without altering the underlying mechanism of how money is earned. At the same time, expenses do not operate on a linear relationship with effort. Costs can rise due to external factors like inflation, lifestyle adjustments, or unexpected events, and when they do, the immediate response within this system is to increase effort, take on additional work, or extend working hours. This reinforces the loop rather than breaking it, because the solution remains within the same framework that created the constraint. Zooming out, this structure is not accidental. It is part of a broader economic design that relies on consistent participation to function. When large numbers of people engage in consistent earning and spending patterns, the system gains stability. Businesses can forecast demand, governments can anticipate tax revenue, and financial institutions can model behavior. In this sense, the individual experience of trading time for money is connected to a much larger network of economic dependencies. However, understanding this system does not require rejecting it entirely, but rather recognizing its boundaries. The key distinction lies between income that depends entirely on active effort and income that begins to decouple from time. When money is earned only through direct labor, the system maintains its control over time allocation.
When mechanisms are introduced that allow income to persist without continuous input, even partially, the relationship begins to shift. This shift is not immediate or dramatic, and it does not eliminate the need for effort, but it changes the direction of that effort. Instead of working solely to sustain the present, effort can begin to build structures that influence the future, reducing the intensity of the time-to-income link. This is where the concept of leverage enters, not as a shortcut, but as a structural adjustment that alters how value is created and captured. From a behavioral perspective, moving toward this shift requires more than financial knowledge. It requires tolerance for uncertainty and the ability to operate without immediate feedback. The time-for-money system provides quick, predictable reinforcement, while leverage-based systems often delay results, which can feel uncomfortable. This discomfort is one of the reasons the original system remains dominant, because it aligns more closely with human preference for certainty and immediate reward. In the end, the hidden system is not just about economics, but about alignment between behavior, incentives, and structure. As long as income is tightly bound to time, decisions will tend to protect that connection. When that connection begins to loosen, even slightly, the range of possible decisions expands. The goal is not to escape the system entirely, but to understand where it influences choices, where it sets limits, and where those limits can be adjusted through deliberate structural change. And once that awareness becomes clear, the daily routine begins to look different, not necessarily in what is done, but in how it is understood, because what once felt like the only path starts to reveal itself as one of several possible configurations within a much larger economic landscape.